bear with us. We're just shuffling things around.
Hey
So
guys,
we've got some
hey guys.
really, really great things to discuss today. I'm just gonna adjust that light because it looks a bit mad and it's scary.
Hey guys, yeah, just bring it down a little bit. Wonderful. What's happening, people? What's happening? It's another day, another Tuesday. Give me one.
Let us know if you can hear us okay and if you can see us nice and clearly.
Lovely.
It is a hot
Tuesday evening.
Okay,
so
hey Shy, good to see you on here, my lovely.
Art
Hey
of communication.
Alan, I am Alan Blackman.
Man.
How's it going?
Cave.
Good to see you.
And auto pilot.
Yes, hey Kaon. Good to see you on here. Ulrich is just pinning the comments so we can go from there. Hey, forever crowned. Ooh. Good to see you on here, my lovely, and congratulations. So yeah, we are just making sure we are live on Instagram, making sure we're live on Facebook, making sure we are live on YouTube as well. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us okay. Give us a little update and let us know what you think of our backdrop now. We've been hard at work.
Level up, man.
It's been a
level up.
busy weekend. Yeah, we got a thumbs up. Excellent.
We got swirls, man. We got swirls.
Ooh. Lovely. So, as Ulrich checks that we are live and everyone can hear us and everything, I'll just summarise. Last week we covered the art of communication, man cave and autopilot. I thought we were going to get through both. There was so much to discuss on man cave. It was just so deep. So we couldn't even touch on autopilot. We had to stay there in the man cave, which is quite symbolic actually, the fact that we had to stay in the man cave to get the understanding and the revelation, which is generally what should be happening when the man goes into his man cave. But we'll see what happens today. We're gonna round up a little bit on the man cave, and then we're gonna move into autopilot, and then hopefully we'll see. Do you know, I don't ever want to try to pretend that I know what's going to take place on some of these lives. God comes in and he has his way and he drops a new word, and then all of a sudden where we thought we were going with it, we end up someplace else. But yeah, so I mean, okay, so I'll slow down and I will rate because I want to race into it. And
I will wait on you.
I will wait.
Wait on you.
Hope you guys have had a good day. Hey, Stephen Luke, it's so good to see you on here.
What's going on?
Really
What's
good
going
to
on?
see you.
Hope you're good. Hope your family are good.
Definitely. And so for any of you who missed last week, feel free to catch up on our YouTube page. So if you go to Two Love Collective, type that in YouTube, you'll find us, and then you can search what we covered last week.
Yes.
I mean, literally last week we started talking about the man cave, and at 1:45 we were like, okay, cool, let's round up. And then Ulrich just started going into a new element of the man cave, and I was like, yo, we can't move from this right here. We can't move from this. So
it's interesting.
It is an interesting one, and I'm really pleased that there's quite a few guys that are on today, so we can see what their opinions are as well.
Is the feeling mutual?
Is the feeling mutual? Hey, how you doing?
Or am I by myself?
I don't think you are by yourself, because from the ladies who were commenting, they seem to know exactly what it felt like. So that would only insinuate that they would know that because they've also experienced it.
Okay.
and they've experienced it because their hubbies have also gone into the man cave.
Amazing. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm always like
Hi,
I'm always
I'm
like
Tuesday.
silent for the first like 6 minutes of the call, making sure our socials are good. But welcome. I know Siobhan has been speaking to all of you, so I know you're all kind of warmed up. But we always do this every time we go live because there might be some people who may not know who on earth this handsome and beautiful couple that are speaking to you guys on every Tuesday night.
Yes.
So, for those of you that do not know who we are, my name is Ulrich.
And I'm Siobhan.
And this is Two Love Collective.
Woo woo.
And here at Two Love Collective, we believe in believing in love again. What does that mean? It means wherever you are in your relationship, whether it's romantic, with your family, siblings, colleagues, there is always space and potential for you to believe in love again. To take that relationship to another level.
Yes.
And for the past 6 weeks, we have been dealing with the subject, the art of communication. And we've kind of taken it from not completely, but a slightly different perspective, where we've been kind of talking about emojis and just kind of very much current ways that we communicate and things that we haven't really heard people talk about before.
It's true.
And just really delving into it because we think it's really important for the next generation of relationships to kind of understand it, talk about it. Don't just brush it under the carpet, but actually deal with these issues or be prepared for these issues because they will help in some way. So last week, we started to talk about man cave and autopilot. Now this topic is kind of dear to me and Siobhan because we earlier on in our marriage, I would say probably the first 5 years.
Yeah, within the 3.
Yeah,
like between year 0 up to year 3, 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was intense.
These are the learning curves.
Yeah,
These are
the learning years.
Yeah. You know, this is where you learn, can two walk together lest they agree. This is where you actually learn, okay, so are we walking together?
Yeah, definitely.
Or are we doing it else?
Yeah, and I think as well, it's when the Bible says that, and the two shall become one flesh. I believe that between these years is the becoming of your marriage or your relationship. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that next level.
And one thing we always want to say as well is like this whole man cave is not subject to marriage.
No, it can happen in any relationship. It is
subject to the man.
Yeah.
Which is why I said on socials, calling all the men and the women that love them, because it could be your brother.
Hey.
It could be your cousin. It could be your uncle. It could be your dad. It could be any male
son,
person or figure that's in your life. So yeah, let's go into it, man. The man cave. So a lot of what I spoke about last week, it was a difficult one for me last week because although we're prepared to speak about it, it's still from a personal place.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And we challenged ourselves this week, or this month rather, to say, you know what, let's try to be as vulnerable as we can, because it's in our vulnerability that we're able to find truth. And it's in our vulnerability that we're able to connect with people, because a lot of times, especially as men, we're trying to, uphold this kind of macho image, which there's nothing wrong with, but at the same time, sometimes it's detriment to the fullness of a relationship that we can have. And so I think it's just really, really important that we get to a place where we can be vulnerable. So anyway, so last week we were talking about what it means to actually go into the man cave, and how for many men, this represents a time where we don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
We've come to a point in our lives where we are uncertain about the future. We're not really too sure which direction to take. And for those of you who may be, believers or not believers, it's a time where we're kind of wrestling with ourselves, who we are, our identity.
Yeah. You're at a crossroad.
Yeah, exactly.
Crossroad.
100%. Or like we termed last week, you're in a turn. You know? And one of the things that we said is that during that period, so many things happen.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we concluded was that it's really important for us to communicate during that season, especially to the women in our lives, particularly those you're married to. We kind of homed in on that side, because they are completely clueless to what we're going through. They are completely in the dark a lot of times because they can sense that something is happening.
Yes.
But they cannot get and usually how they would get to that thing is through you.
Yeah. Or
through what you say. But in that season, we have nothing to say because a lot of times we are trying to work it out ourselves. Yeah. And so, you know, some amazing people online, you know, were saying, you know, it's not time to go in there and try and sweep up and clean up, and it's not the time to help.
Yes.
In the direct sense of the word.
Come on. You gotta hone in on that one. Because as a wife, you are there to be a help. So you're like, why? I can see that something, okay, as a woman, you can see that something is up. So let me help you. A problem shared is a problem halved. Come, let's sit down. Let's reason together. Let's talk this thing out. Let's see if we can find a new way to strategize about it. But at that moment, the guy does not want to come to you.
No.
He does not want to sit down and strategize and hear your opinion. And it's hard to hear that you don't want to hear my opinion. You want to formulate your own opinion and then come to the table. It's almost like I want to come to the table with an opinion. I don't want to come to the table just to hear your thoughts on it and then you ask me something and I still have nothing. That's the whole point of me going into the cave. It's the whole point of me sitting out and trying to say, no, I need to go on a timeout to seek God or to figure out where we're going or to actually see what I want in this situation. And generally, whenever you get yourself into situations like this, it's because something drastic has come to shake your faith, your foundation, to shake what you wanted, your plan. Something has disrupted
your expectations.
100%. And now you're caught off guard.
You're in limbo. You are in limbo. And I think the whole you kind of helping thing, it's a real powerful thing because it's like at that point you can't help, you feel helpless. Because there's certain times where obviously I can come to you because I need your help with something. Because that's again one of the things that we really talk about quite heavily, about understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. So there's certain things that I know hands down I don't even try to entertain because I know that's Siobhan's remit. Realm. That's her area. That's her realm. And so I go to her for advice. Do you understand? But I think this whole man cave situation is very different because it's like you are facing your weakness. Ooh. So you can't have somebody come and help you with that weakness almost because it's you. It's how can I explain it? It's like not knowing where you're going and not knowing the steps that you need to take, where to lead your family, where you are in your career, where you are in your life. You know, what are my pursuits? What am I doing? And sometimes it can be triggered by so many different things. It can be triggered, like Siobhan said, by, you know, something drastic that may happen. But sometimes it can be triggered by what somebody says. You know, like somebody might say something and you're just like...
It just sparks something.
That just hits me to my core because it's just like, well...
what am I doing?
What am I doing with my life? And sometimes you can see other people and be inspired by other people.
Yeah.
And that could take you in there because it's just like you see somebody, you know, do something and you see a level of success. And you're kind of like...
You're comparing. What? You're like, how is this kid... Like, if you are... like 30 or 35 and you see someone in their 20s and they have started up a concept or a business, or they're working for something. They come out of the same university as you, but yet they seem like they're so much further ahead of you, and automatically it calls you to now question, well, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Where am I going?
100%.
And automatically kind of puts you in a spin. Now that naturally can put any person in a spin, not just a man. But if you haven't dealt with some things,
Sure.
then it causes you to kind of go into your man cave, and then after that, once you're in, you're now struggling to find your way back out.
100%.
And that's where you get into the danger zone, because if you like push the person away, the spouse away, the friend, the female counterpart away, and you're trying to deal with it, but you're sinking deeper in. This is one of the things we were talking about last week. You basically can get into a very dangerous place. Now, one of the things that I want to just touch on is, like, as women, when our guys are in the man cave, and this is something we talked about last week, it is deciding to ourselves, I am not going to take it personal, but I'm going to give you this space and this freedom. Almost like if it was a physical space and you went into a shed in the back garden,
crazy,
I'm actually not going to try to come into the shed with you and so on and so on.
Yeah.
But I might send you a message if you've been in the shed for over 4 hours to say your dinner is ready when you want it, or just letting you know that your dinner's waiting for you, or something like that, so that it's not by force. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than a guy coming out of the man cave and feeling a resentment. The whole point is that the person coming out comes out to and it just dawned on me, the person coming out of the man cave comes out to a loving response, not, so you've been out there for how long, now you're ready to come and talk to me.
100%.
Because that's how it can feel. Oh, so you've been ignoring me, but now you're ready to smile. Oh, now you want a hug.
How about I go back in my damn thing?
And straight away, it can cause more contention. Now, I'm not justifying the man cave. I'm not saying that the man cave is the best way. It should be the last measure. It should be like, you shouldn't, like, if you're finding that the guy is continually retreating to this man cave, then there's a problem. The man cave should only be entered in when these are big life decisions, not, oh, my football team lost, so I'm in the man cave. Like, the relationship has to progress further than that. That something that typifies the weather or like the change in seasons now can force you to decide that you're now not speaking to your spouse and things like that. That art of communication needs to step up. Because
because I think there needs to be like a maturity as well, because as you go in and you go through that process with your significant other or your siblings or whatever, it has to, because it shouldn't be a place, like Siobhan said, that you stay. It's important to go through it when those seasons come, but it's knowing how to navigate your way back out, so that doesn't become your dwelling place. Because when it becomes your dwelling place, that's when it begins to have repercussions, and that's where you begin to breed things that are not positive and that begin to affect those that essentially are around you. So I think what we ended last week on was the element of betrayal, and it's a really big thing, and I don't even think I've never heard anybody talk about it.
No, I haven't.
So
I haven't.
For us, it's definitely new ground.
But
yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and I think just to bring clarity, so it's like, so I could be going through something, doing something mad because obviously there's an issue way deep inside of me that I don't necessarily know how to communicate. I may not necessarily understand what's going on with me or what to do, a decision that needs to be made, and for whatever reason, I'm just acting up. You know, I'm being short with Siobhan.
Yeah.
I'm being, silent and distant and non-responsive. No form of affection. It's just like shut down, right? So because of this may happen maybe for a couple of days, maybe even a week.
Oy. Listen, if it's getting to those kind of days, like it should be okay, fine, one day something's up, something's up, but you're gonna come to me to explain what's going down.
Yep.
If we go more than 24 hours, there's a problem, in my opinion. Anyway, we shouldn't have to get to that, but that's my opinion. But for some people, if they're getting to those stages where they're into a week, it's dangerous. Yeah. That's dangerous.
That's true.
But the betrayal is, can wives reach out, or can women reach out to other people when they've got a problem within their marriage without the person in the relationship, feeling like they've been betrayed? Because when stuff is going on in the marriage, it's not when it gets to the divorce court that there's a problem. Yeah, things were going on beforehand.
Way before that.
But do we now come across as whistleblowers when our spouse is going through clearly stuff, and we can't now speak to other people about it?
And particularly other men.
Oof.
I think that's where it's really at, because I think you speaking to your girls, obviously the ones that I am aware of, and that I am, that I'm comfortable knowing, what's going on in our marriage, kind of thing. It's cool. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Do you know what I mean? But I think sometimes it's when it's a guy. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like there's almost like this. Well, why would you call them? Like, why would you? Do you know what I mean? Even if you guys are close. So this is where we're at, guys. This is where I need some of the mandem to help me out, because I want to know like what your feelings are about this, in terms of when stuff's going on internally within like the marriage or within the relationship. How does our significant other reach out to somebody else to get a perspective of what maybe you are unable to communicate?
And I just think, like, whilst we're kind of like tussling over that, one of the things that comes to mind is when your spouse is going through what they're going through, and you're deciding like, who can I reach out to? Who can I speak to? If it was a guy, which guy can I go to that is not gonna see my spouse as less than, and so on and so on? And who would my spouse be okay with and approve? I think there's all of that you're tussling with. But as the female in that situation, you also have a bit of a resentment and a bit of an offense. So let's say that the person has been ignoring you, they've been short, they've been rude. You're gonna be offended. You're actually waiting for them to come back out of the man cave to apologize because they've been unreasonable. But they're in their funk, or they're in their turn, or whatever it is. So they're processing their emotions. So what they've done leading up, or whilst they've been in their turn, they haven't even acknowledged it, because what they're processing is their greater issue. So you, not only have you been trying to tussle with how do I speak to, who do I speak to get help for them, at the same time you're like, well, you need to apologize for X, Y, and Z still, because you were rude or you were disrespectful or something like that. And I just think, like, as females or as women or whatever, when the person is processing the grace and the understanding to not kick off, to not throw it back in their face, and also to actually want to help. Because it's like someone slapping you in the face. Do you now want to go and get help for them? When you're actually saying, no, I need to get you some help because this is not good. When actually it's like, who are you talking to? When the reaction now is to the symptom that is or the behavior that's displayed.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like when someone's unwell, you can treat the signs of what they're displaying, so the cold and so on and so on. But actually what started it all is sometimes where you have to go to the root to find out, how did they even arrive at this point? Okay, well, cool. This thing happened, or they had contracted COVID because of X, Y, and Z. They went to a certain place in the world and it's rife or whatever it is. You actually have to retrace the steps to get to an understanding of why you arrived at this situation. But some of the times, all you can do is see the sneeze and be like, listen, I'm ducking for cover. I just need to get out of there because there's just so much going on. So I guess what I'm getting to is ladies, women, wives, females, whatever title you want to come under in the season when they're going through.
Yeah.
Whew.
What do we do? But I think this is it, and because that's why we're talking about communication, because communication fundamentally is the foundational thing. And I think one of the things we were saying last week is that even whilst this is happening, it's important to always remember our communication languages.
Yes.
Because one of the things that we said a couple of lives ago was that there's an amazing book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And it's really talking about how different the male species is and how different the female species are. And one of the things that I learned from that book was how to because how I communicate, or how I was communicating, was very much factual. It was very much about what's happening, what's going on, and it was never about how I felt about anything. Whereas for Siobhan, she's very much a feeler. Do you know what I mean? Which is most women are kind of like that. So I realized that when I was telling her that I was upset about something, she just thought I was just getting annoyed, but she didn't understand why. So I had to start explaining why, which is not very difficult for me personally, because I had my mum and two sisters growing up. So, speaking to females and understanding how to kind of do that, it wasn't really that difficult. But I found that it was very beneficial, because once that communication happens, do you understand? It begins to let Siobhan in, or it begins to let her in to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And how particular things that happen in our marriage actually makes me feel. Do you understand? And there's so much strength in that, because once the two of you are able to connect on a communication level, it means that there's an understanding.
That's good.
That's good. And sometimes what needs to happen is I had to kind of like break away from particular cultural things, because being from Sierra Leone, do you understand, there were some innate tendencies that, well, I don't need to explain myself. Like, do you understand? It is what it is. However, the Bible says that they were equal. Do you know what I mean? Equal created he them.
Come on now, preach that good word.
Or male and female created he them.
Preach
Do you understand?
that good word.
And so there has to be a connection between that man and woman, and the connection is beyond sex or physical intimacy. Do you understand? It is also intellectual.
Yes.
It is also verbal. It is also, every communication possible.
Yeah.
So even whilst in the man cave, it's so important to, as much as we are trying to find the words to describe where we're at, it's important to keep the dialogue going. Because even a couple of days ago, it was the same thing. Do you understand? Siobhan and I had a big argument last week Tuesday before we came on here.
Last week Tuesday,
it was a madness.
It wasn't one. It was several.
Yeah.
A whole day. In total, I think we had about 4 arguments in the one day. It was ridiculous.
And it all stemmed from the first one. Because
Yeah.
the first one, there was a massive miscommunication. But the funny thing is, it wasn't even a miscommunication. It felt like it was a cave moment. Because...
It didn't feel like it was. It was.
Yeah,
it was
because essentially the situation was that we were basically trying to decide something together, but I knew what I didn't want it to be.
Yes.
I didn't know what it. I know what it should be, but I know what it's also not. And Siobhan was going crazy because we had a very small time limit. Right, so we were kind of trying to rush to do this thing, and Siobhan was coming out with all the ideas, boop, and I was just like, no. Do you know what I mean? That can't work. Like in my head, it was just like, well, why would you think that could work? Like, do you not remember that we talked about?
Not in his head. It was out loud.
Yeah. So anyway, so again. It was difficult for me to articulate what I was trying to get Siobhan to see, because my assumption is that because we were both in a particular meeting and privy to the same information, that she understood where I was coming from. But she became offended. And so I was vexed because I didn't understand why she would be offended.
But the frustration for him was every time I kept suggesting something, it was further away from what he could see that it needed to be. But although I was suggesting things, it was frustrating him because he was like, why don't you get it that this can't be what this is? Because we already know that. And so
XYZ.
So for me, I'm just like, why are you getting so angry about this? And what? How? How do I know what you want it to be? You haven't said what it is. And then he was like, I know what it's not. And then at that point, we were just at a whole new impasse because he needed the time to process
how to even communicate what it needs to be.
Right.
So that which would now give Siobhan the ability to now... Because this is it, and this is what I said, word for word. I said, this is your strength. Yeah. You have the ability, because I know her strengths. This is your strength. You are able to be creative and on the spot and come up with things like boom, 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 boom. That's how Siobhan has always been. Do you know what I mean? Like, she worked with kids. She did, Adventure Playground most of her life because that's where her dad worked. And still does work.
Yeah.
So coming up with games and in the spur of a moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like the ultimate woman. Like, do you know what I mean? Go in the kitchen, nothing in there, but somehow come out and rustle up a whole dinner. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's her. So when she's coming out with, it's like she's coming out with all of these recipes. Like, yeah, we could eat this and we could eat this. We could eat this. No, but my fitness schedule is this. I can't eat that. I can't eat that.
And he's getting more and more worked up. So here's the joke. Like, when you're working hard to throw out new suggestions, bang, bang, all right, fine, shut that down, bang, bang, bang.
And then she started to get offended because now she was taking it personally.
Yeah.
Because she was taking it as a personal attack that, and her words were, and I quote, well, I don't see you coming up with any ideas. And that's when it just went left. Because I was just like,
But the problem was, and the reason why it got to that stage was, he wasn't just frustrated with the ideas. He was frustrated that I still wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay, cool. I don't mind that the suggestion isn't correct. I can deal with that. But what I don't like is now almost what I'm suggesting, almost like it became personal because it was like
That's a deep comment, Kayon.
Kayon, I hear you to the core, honey. I hear you to the core. But the reason why it actually offended was because soft answerships. I know I didn't come with the soft at that point. I was already all the way up. But the problem was, the offence was, he's now frustrated at my help. I'm only doing this to help. And now my help is now being like he wants to, almost like, you know, it was an irritant. That's what it was. And when you have an irritant like a fly buzzing around, you just want to slap it and done. So when I could see that my suggestions were going past not being correct, and now it was getting to the stage that it's frustrating and irritating him, it is insulting to me, because I'm just like, I'm only here trying to help you. I don't need to be doing this. And furthermore, where's your suggestions? And that just...
Well. Because the thing is, guys, I'm a very calm person.
Yeah.
But if you poke the bear...
Yeah.
I will...
So, the problem...
Retaliate. But,
we ended up falling out, and then we calmed down. We went to, you know, calm down and regroup and say, okay, so what are we going to do here? And now...
We had to talk about it.
We
had time to really go away and think about exactly what. And we came back and we argued again because we still weren't getting it. And then, ultimately we just had to apologize and just keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
And this is what I'm saying. It's the continual, and I guess we've learned this over the years. Like, it's the ensuring that we come back and we try to explain our point and where we're coming from, not to win the argument, but to make the other person understand where we're coming from. Because a lot of times arguments happen because we're trying to win them instead of trying to get the person to understand what we're trying to say. Do you understand? Because ultimately the stuff that we were doing, we're trying to get to the same goal.
And it wasn't the offence was on both parts. The offence was on both parts because it was just like, well, surely we've discussed this and we know we should be on the same page. So for Ulrich, he's kind of like, so well, hold on a minute, why are we not seeing eye to eye on this? Because we're supposed to be moving in the same vision. Like, what's going on? And then for me, it's like, I'm making suggestions here. I'm trying to help. And so when you feel like your efforts are not appreciated, you can feel offended. Definitely. Because you're going out of your way to work, to support, to help, so on and so on. But outside of all of that, the reason why that tussle kept happening is because Ulrich needed the time to go away and process what it was that was taking place. He didn't need me coming in to try to suggest things at that moment. The suggestions were good, but it wasn't time. And so because it was now irritating him because he needed time away, it was like me coming into the man cave and trying to sweep up and all the rest of it. It wasn't time for that. He needed to process what it was and then say, right, cool, here's what we're going to do. Or, right, cool, I'm thinking this. What's your thoughts on it? And then we come to the table and we discuss it. What then happened was a series of us falling out and then resolving and then falling out again and trying to resolve. And it wasn't until after the live, because we had to go live with you guys last week. So we made up, but we had to talk about it again after the live. And it was only when we started unfolding about the man cave and talking with you guys and hearing you guys saying, like, don't go in there and start cleaning up and stuff like that, that we could actually now look back in retrospect and in hindsight to be like, yo, we actually just relived another one of these experiences, identifying the man cave and the help and miscommunication and how to deal with these in modern day. But the beauty, and I say all of this to say the beauty of the situation is we ended up going back to the drawing board that same night, coming up with a new concept and working on it and then achieving it. and seeing the fruit thereof. And the fruit that have come from that situation have been so plentiful. It's unreal. We are literally, we never could have imagined getting to that point. And I say all of it to say that a lot of the times when we go through these man cave situations, these autopilot situations, they're not there just to be a marker, but they're actually there for us to learn from it and build. If you find that you're continually, perpetually going in through the same cycle, there's a problem. It can't be, like I was saying before, that the man cave is going in there all the time. It can't be that you're falling out with each other so regularly that you're not speaking to each other for days. It's not healthy. What we need to get to the stage of is growing in maturity. And that's why whenever we talk about this man cave and the art of communication, we are talking about it from early days in marriage, early days in relationship, where the two of you are still figuring out and finding out how to resolve issues and how to arrive at a conclusion. I'm not saying that in the latter time in your marriage or your relationship or whatever it is, that you won't have miscommunication. Yes, you will, but you've already kind of been through certain things to now have the tools to be able to act on it fast, to see where it's going, to say, this is not going to go where it's supposed to. So, like that argument, we both went in the wrong direction on that one. It was a complete left
100%.
moment.
100%. But yeah, guys, let us know what you guys are thinking. Experiences, testimonies, anything with regards to kind of what we've touched on. So in the meantime, so autopilot
At 2:15.
Autopilot. We could touch there. We could just boost. You know what I mean? Just. So autopilot, right, is a word that Siobhan and I have been using probably for the same amount of time, as we have man cave. I guess it's the female equivalent of the man cave. Yeah. Which is autopilot, which is literally everything is moving, everything is functioning, but nobody is at the wheel.
Nobody is consciously
at the wheel.
Yeah, participating in what's taking place.
Dangerous.
It is a dangerous place and
can happen beyond the 3-year period.
Yeah. Way beyond. way beyond.
Jeez.
So I believe that
introduction.
See, that's what I was saying. How can you start us on autopilot at 2:15? We got a question. How do you get past when the other person thinks an apology means the situation is resolved but doesn't work to actually resolve it? Whew. See, now that's a good question. And I'm so glad that you asked that question. Sorry, we're not gonna touch on autopilot tonight, guys. We can't. It would be rude. It would be rude. So, just to clarify, when a person apologizes but doesn't want to actually do something about it, you now have one or two ways to resolve this issue. It's either going to come back around again, or you're actually going to see that the person starts making changes to not repeat what took place to lead up to that situation. So one of the things that Ulrich and I identified is we were counselling a couple, and we said, so have the two of you spoken about X, Y, and Z and what it makes you feel? And they said yes. And I said, okay, so what did you do about that? And they didn't. And that was the follow-up.
Yeah.
And that's actually the problem that a lot of us may face in our relationship. When you get to the stage that you've identified, okay, so this is a problem for us, I've apologized, but now, are you actually going to do something? Are you actually going to do something that's going to stop it being perpetuated?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think that situation is always difficult because the main issue goes back to something Siobhan always said, which is that when you're getting married, if one person is 25, the other person's 25, when you come together, that is 50 years into a household. That means 25 years that you've lived on this planet, you have been doing something your way. And so when you get into a relationship or into a marriage, there is almost this selfish expectation that this person should automatically, because the ring's on the finger, it automatically means that they should now shift something, especially if it's like a habit or something mad. Do you understand?
You're preaching.
And their expectation is that you are supposed to switch that off in a moment.
Yep.
And that is unrealistic. Now, to kind of deal with the whole apology thing, apologies are great, especially when they're sincere. And even though you can identify what the issue is, the actual change takes a long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to continually go through that thing, because what's happening is that it's almost, I don't want to say that the 25 years of doing something needs to needs to be challenged with another 25 years of doing it another way. No, because obviously that's wrong.
Yeah.
But there has to be some sort of plan put in place by the two of you, or to seek counsel so that somebody can guide you through that. Because at the end of the day, if you've identified that it's an issue, then it's for that person to make that conscious effort to deal with it.
Absolutely.
And the other person shouldn't now need to be dictator and judge over you. There just needs to be an understanding that, look, you're going to work on this.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
And give them time.
And give them time. Like, as we've said before, Siobhan had issues with lateness and all of that kind of stuff. And, she used to say that, that she would work on it. And many a times, would have arguments. And then her timekeeping is great for like 3 days. And then it begins to dip. Do you understand? And although those days, those seasons were frustrating for me, what was actually happening is we were growing.
Yeah.
And there's some issues that you have to grow out of.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
there's some issues which maybe switch off, switch on situations. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like when you get saved, there's certain things that you struggle to get rid of.
Yeah.
And there's certain things, boom.
Just like that.
Like for me, swearing. I used to be a swear box. I vividly right now can remember the last time that I swore. Because I said, after this day, no, I'm not doing it again. Boom. Complete switch off.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Other issues that I wanted it to be a switch off.
Long-standing issues.
Thorn in my side.
Even now.
Thorn in my side.
There's issues that... And I totally agree with you. There's issues that I see myself and I'm like, why are we still battling with this? But it comes back down to, and I love the question, how do you process? So like Ulrich said, you try to give them time to make change, and you also come back to talking about, let's put a strategy or a plan in place as to what it's going to look like. So like the question said, so the person's given an apology, but it doesn't seem like they actually had any intention of improving. So, okay, cool. You're sorry that this took place. In future, what are we going to do? Because that's one of the things that Ulrich and I had to identify. So when I was continually being late and so on and so on, Ulrich had to start saying to me, okay, so what would you like me to do? How can I help you? Or how can I say this to you without you feeling like I'm breathing down your neck? But we had to arrive at, like, okay, so something that I used to do to Ulrich, I used to I used to ask him a question in a certain way, and he didn't like it, and it would offend him. So then he had to explain to me and say, do you know what? Hey, he had to say to me, do you know what? If you ask me this question like this, you are going to get a different response from me. And it changed. 100%. It changed our relationship. I'm trying to think of how you asked me to say it, but instead of saying like, are you still going to do the dishes? It was. It's not that question, but it is. Let me know if you're gonna have enough time to do the dishes today or not, because I might have to jump on it because it's getting late and something or something like that. So it's arriving at a new way of doing something. So if you and the person are at an impasse, or you're saying, right, we're gonna work on something, or something keeps reoccurring and it's getting you guys into conflict, maybe it needs to be that you actually say, okay, so what is the outcome? What do we want to see in, so that we don't arrive back here again?
Definitely. And I think what you touched on is so important. The how you communicate your frustration, so key. Because a lot of times, because you're irritated, it doesn't matter how nice you want to say it. Because you're vexed, it comes through. Do you understand? And that's why anything that you want to say about a particular issue that you're frustrated about, think about whether what you're about to say is going to lift up or pull down.
Yeah.
If it's going to pull down, don't say nothing.
Or find a new way to say it.
I would say if you're in the midst of the fire, don't say nothing at all. If you're vexed, you're just like, I can't believe she did that. And you want to say something like, nah, don't worry. We'll talk tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Guys,
it's been great.
Yeah.
We can go on forever.
We can.
We have strict instructions to make sure we keep it under an hour. Because when Instagram thought, let's extend past 1 hour, no.
They knew.
No. But yeah, I hope that helps to the person who asked the question. Yeah. I hope that really helps. So yes, guys, next week we are 100% going to start on autopilot, and we're going to be looking at the ladies, and we're going to be talking about this autopilot situation, and how do we deal with it? How do we even identify it? Because we're supposed to be the co-pilot, and we don't even know that she ain't even flying the plane.
There's a lot more that takes place in autopilot, and
yes, we're going to delve into it. Siobhan's going to grace us with some knowledge,
guys,
and understanding.
We are going deep. These are the issues that take place in marriage, in relationships that hurt people, and unfortunately, when unresolved, it can lead us to some next places.
Resentment.
So what we're trying to do is let's have them as talking points, so that we can format new strategies, new ideas, new ways of doing things, because I think the old model isn't working. The old model is fumble through it and then we'll get to the end, and whatever happens. Well, we want change. On that note, guys, good night.
Good morning, good evening, and good night. See, even the iPad is saying, come off. But guys, no, seriously, it's been amazing. Thank you guys so much for connecting with us. We really appreciate you guys. You could have been watching Disney, could have been watching Netflix, could have been watching Prime, but you decided to stay with us, and we really appreciate you guys.
Or Sky or Virgin. I mean, you could have been watching those ones too. Yeah,
that's true. But we really appreciate you guys. So yes, join us next week.
Yes.
Man Cave and Autopilot Part 3.
There's so much to talk about. It's so loaded.
Come with your questions as well, because that's really good. It helps us. It helps us flex a bit more.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good evening.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye. Bye.